Ni hao, guten tag, assalamu alaikum. Hola, ¿cómo está? What's up? How y'all doing? And welcome to Brat Life TV. I'm your host, Adrian DC Dre Johnson. And let me start by saying I'm a brat, a Nuremberg Eagle, and an Augsburg Apache. And if some of you viewers not familiar with the schools I just mentioned, they're cities in Germany. That's right, I said Germany. And if you're wondering, how did he get to 10 schools in Germany? I was a brat. My father was in the military, like hundreds of thousands of other children's parents or guardians that was in the armed forces, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines. We didn't ask for that experience, but we lived it. And today episode, we're going to call this K9 because our featured guest is a dog trainer, a U.S. Armed Forces soldier, a father, my brother, Courtney Musgraves.
What's up, Amy?
What's up, bro? How you doing?
I'm all right. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure, brother. Thanks for being here. We'll let the viewers know who's Courtney Musgraves.
Well, first of all, I'm a brat. That's what brings me to the platform. My father, he was in the U.S. Army, and we were stationed in Kaiserslautern, Germany. And I went to school in K-Town, so that makes me a K-Town Raider.
Okay. So where are you originally from?
I'm originally from East St. Louis.
East St. Louis.
East St. Louis.
You running around with Nelly and the boys, huh?
Yes, sir.
St. Louis. So you went to school in St. Louis?
No, I did not go to school in St. Louis, only in my elementary years. I left East St. Louis. I grew up in Washington Park. And I left East St. Louis probably when I was about in the 5th grade, and we went to Fort McClellan. That's when my pops joined the Army, and that was my first experience with the brat life.
So Fort McClellan, that's in Alabama?
That's in Alabama, yeah.
Okay. All right. And so you stayed there with elementary school to when?
Yeah, elementary school. I think it was probably about 3 years that we stayed there, because when I got to Germany, it was at the end of my 8th grade year, going into the 9th grade.
Okay. So that was about 89?
I think we got, something like that, probably around 89, 90 or so.
Okay. So that's when you came to Germany?
I came to Germany in 92.
You came to Germany in 92?
Yeah. We was in Germany from 1996.
Okay, was it a culture shock?
Absolutely culture shock, yeah. I didn't even really know where Germany was, you got to put it all into its perspective. I was about, 8th grader? So when I left, I was trying to figure out, where is Germany? Where am I going? Because let's be real, all we knew about Germany was Nazis. Hitler is from there,
Exactly.
And I remember on the plane ride, man, my big mama set us up, man. We left with like 10 pounds of chicken, fried chicken. You know how that go.
Word.
Word,
They let
man.
you take all that on the plane back then?
Man, hey, look, they even smoked on the plane back then, bro.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, so yes, it was an absolute culture shock. I remember going there, the feelings I have like, hey, where am I going? Because when you transition to another country, most people can't fathom it. It's not like going to another state, so
Exactly.
I'm in Missouri now. And if I decide to move to California, some see that as a transition, in which it is, but the culture doesn't change. The environment change. You get beaches and oceans and stuff, but the culture doesn't change. The language doesn't change. You're still familiar with the Western culture. Man, when we went to Germany, I will never forget my introduction. But when we landed, they have armed security at the airports.
No doubt.
And when we landed, that was my first time seeing something like that, So I'm a young teen. I just landed in Naziville, and now I'm in the airport with them speaking a strong language that I don't understand, and they armed with big guns. It was quite an experience.
You nervous as you nervous Purvis in that joint.
Yeah, nervous Purvis all day.
Man, what? Man, let me explain something. I tried to tell you when I got there, I was like, my first time coming to Germany I was in the 5th grade.
Okay.
So imagine me coming to Germany in the 5th grade, and like I told once before, the thing I had knew about it was the German Nazis. And then they had this program on TV called Hogan's Hero.
Yeah.
but all the Americans was in the concentration camp. You understand what I'm saying? I was nervous as hell, like coming over that joint. Like, man,
That's
what's
all we
really
knew.
gonna you understand? What's really gonna happen? You
Right.
understand?
And and then I want to touch on this. See, and one thing that people should know about the military is made up of a lot of different backgrounds of people from a lot of different walks of life,
mm.
okay? And when you're dealing with the black sector of the military, let's just be real. Most of us coming from the hood. That's where we coming from.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's where our parents enlisted from. Right, you know?
So you get
So
man, that's what I was trying to tell people. Like you realize I knew about Bloods and Crips before Bloods and Crips was on before Colors was out. You understand what I'm saying? I knew about Vice Lords and Disciples before it was popular to know about Vice Lords and Disciples. You understand what I'm saying? Because you got all these man, you got people coming from everywhere. I'm talking about Nebraska, Cali, Detroit, Florida, Michigan, Texas, Maine, South Dakota, North Dakota. Yo, they coming from everywhere. So you catching all flavors of the U.S. right there in Germany.
right
And your
there.
school. And
And
your
your
school.
school. Yeah. Hey, look, and I'm gonna tell you another thing, right? When you talk about the culture shock, there are so many culture shocks. Okay, just expatting to another country is enough itself. Okay, but let's talk about another culture shock that brats go through. Because when people hear the word brats, they think brats. No, that's not
Oh,
it. Yeah, no, it's an acronym. Okay.
right.
Yeah, and so, but I remember when I got to Germany. Remember, I came from East St. Louis, Washington Park. So my peoples came from the hood and we didn't have much, okay? And I
Right.
remember, bro, when I got to Germany, man, when I walked into school and I seen all of those kids with Nikes, Adidas, and Jordans. Hey, look, it was such a culture shock. I didn't want to go to school until I got my feet right, man. It was a
I know
whole.
that's right. Cause you definitely would have got joned out. And I'm trying to tell you, that's yo, and like you said, when they hear brats, they think, oh, they spoiled, they had and it wasn't all good. I mean, as far as like unless you was it was a wonderful experience, let me say that. But it wasn't like we had it on a silver platter. That's
No,
for
no,
sure.
no. No, no,
Nah.
my people's was enlisted. You know, they weren't officers. So,
Exactly.
yeah, so for those that's in the civilian world, it goes like this. The enlisted class, that's your working class in the civilian world. This your
Exactly.
teachers, this your plumbers, this your people that's going to work, that's really making society go around. And then the officers, this is your supervising class. And this is the
Yeah.
class that's making more money. This is your white collar workers. You see what I'm
The
saying?
rich, that's the rich class. You
That's
understand
the
what I'm
rich
saying?
class. So,
Mhm.
and one thing that people, it's just like, hey, it's just like on the streets, man, because there's a beef between enlisted and officer personnel. You don't really want to consort with them. They're not cut from the cloth we from. They got everything, and we're poor on our side of town.
Right.
So that's another dynamic of what they call the brat life. So I really, being a teenager when I got there, I got to Germany in my most impressionable years. And so it was my first time being surrounded by name brands, man. I come from Washington Park. So it was hard to get my mom to buy Miracle Whip. We had salad dressing. You know what
Man.
I'm saying?
Hey, yo, and then when you get over there, it's named whores over that mother. Yo, you gotta be dripped with you gotta be laced with the lace. You understand? You gotta put it on. If you don't, you gonna get talked about. You're gonna get
Right,
joned on.
right.
You gotta stay fresh. And you gotta be able to put them things together. You gotta be able to, you understand? Back
You
then,
had
you
to have
gotta
them
be able to put
hands.
them things together. You understand what I'm saying? So,
Right. Hey, well, look,
uh,
I got to give a shout out to my mom, man, because I had a real crisis, man. It was a revolt, man. I had never been somewhere where I seen everybody in nice starter jackets. Starter was it back then, man. I've
What?
never seen so many starter jackets and starter hats in my life, bro. I had to
Yeah.
get myself right. I got to give a shout out to my mom, man. Although that was not her style, she broke down. She got me together. She put me in some Nikes and some starter. Man, I went back to school. I was right, bro. Now I'm coming back repping St. Louis.
Hey, I'm gonna keep it 100. By the time I got to ninth grade, my mother then wasn't buying my clothes no more.
Right,
I couldn't do it. I'm not wearing that, so I go
right,
buy my own
right.
clothes. You
Yeah, man, we had to
understand?
get a job, man. Yeah.
Or something,
Or
or
something,
something.
get you a hustle. Yeah. Hey,
You
and that's another
understand?
thing, Hey, let's talk about it. Cause see, the military is very diverse. And you have to remember there's a lot of different backgrounds and people into a lot of different things. Soldiers and their dependents. So for us, man, when I got to Germany, I'm from St. Louis. I'm from East St. Louis, man. So
Right, right.
I wasn't necessarily trying to hook up with those that was, always into doing the right thing. I wanted some action in my life.
Exactly,
Yeah, and
exactly.
growing up the brat life, if you're looking for some heated action to get into,
It's
Germany
there.
is a place to
It's there.
find all that you're
Man,
looking for.
man, I ain't gonna lie. I kind of like opened it up for by the time you got there, man, I had it. I had to get up out of there. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like it was
yeah,
bad, but
yeah.
it
And
was definitely
in the
open.
end,
It was
hey,
wide.
hey,
It was
look, man.
wide open. It was wide
Yeah,
open in Germany if you wanted to make some money. If you want to
it
make some money,
it was
Germany
wide
was the
open.
place to make some money.
Yeah, hey, look, and I gotta give a shout out. I gotta give a shout out to my crew. What's up, Cheese? Momo, these are the cats that I was running with, man. What's up, CJ, Cornelius Jenkins? What's up, John Blackman? Yo, we was all crew. We was doing our thing, man. Hey, we would hit the train. So look, man, look, going to Germany, man, look. And we was in K-Town, bro. That's little America.
So that's what school you went to.
I went to K-Town, yeah, and you had
Okay.
Ramstein up the road, you had Landstuhl up the road, but K-Town was that spot. That's little America, man. Outright, K-Town was kind of like the hood, man. That's where you wanted to be at, if you wanted to have fun, bro.
Yeah, yeah. I used to. I mean, I never really like rocked up K Town, but we used to get K Town respect because we played y'all a few times. Nuremberg, K Town.
Yeah,
But I fuck with a couple of cats up there.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look, and I'll tell you something. There was one thing that was unique about K-Town. It was an open post. People are used to seeing gates and stuff when you think of a military installation.
Right, right, right.
K-Town was wide open, man. You
Word.
go from being in an American school and walk out to school and you in Germany. So that's one thing that was unique about K-Town. That's what made it wasn't like being on Ramstein when you had Ramstein Air Force Base, and that was our rival school, and we beat up on them every chance we get. And if I see
Yeah.
Ramstein again, we gonna beat up on them again. Ain't no thing. That's how we
Hey,
do. But
I
look,
see you with your helmet. What's that helmet about? What's that helmet about?
oh
Showcase the
man,
helmet.
so look, this helmet, this is a funny story right here, right? This here, man, we won the whole USARA championship, undefeated, bro. We busted everybody. I'm gonna let that slow down so you can just get a look of them scores right there, man. We was busting everybody, okay? So look, this what we did. This was the K-Town Dogs, okay? Our ninth grade year, we
So okay,
defected.
before okay, get so K Town Dogs came from where?
This was the K-Town Dogs. This was an AYA group, okay? So look,
Okay, pause right quick. So AYA is similar. If you watch the first episode when I talked about DYA, those are rec centers where we can go play football for them, basketball for them. They have parties like talent shows,
midnight
parties. You can
basketball.
play. You can play foosball, pool. It's just a rec center. Everything go down at the.
Hey, everything went down at the AYA. And so look, this what happened, right? We was all at football practice at the high school, okay? And so we heard about this young group of coaches, man. This young group of black coaches, Coach Jones and some other soldiers. Coach Jones was the OG. He was older. And
Right.
he played college ball and he had a little stint with pro ball, okay? So these
Okay.
guys, I do believe the backstory is they were fired from the high school team. So they put together a youth organization through the AYA. We went to tryouts at the high school, man, and we was not feeling the coaches at all, bro. So when we heard
Okay.
about Coach Jones, man, and the K-Town Dogs, we went to try out at their teams, bro. And these cats, they was from the city. So remember all that diverse backgrounds I talked
Right.
about?
Right. Right.
These
Right.
dudes was from the city like us, bro.
Right.
And we fit perfectly, man. So the K-Town Dogs, bro, we got put together. It was like the all-star team. You know the show Friday Night Lights?
Right.
Before
Right.
Friday Night Lights, we were Friday Night Lights in Germany, bro. Hey, and we was outstanding, man. We won the whole thing, undefeated, man. Well, Ramstein beat us one time, our scrimmage game, and we never let it happen again, bro. And look, Coach Jones, he was so cold about it. I'll never forget the speech. Coach Jones came in and he looked at us. He only had a couple things to say. He looked at us and he said, "You see what defeat tastes like? Yes, coach. Now let's go see what it feel like to win." That's all he had to say. After that, we won the whole thing undefeated, man. And we
That's what's
learned
up.
so much, bro. Manhood, scholarship, perseverance, uplift. I learned so much. I learned more through the AYA. And these were coaches that actually loved and cared about playing football.
That's the only way. That's the only way they will be there because they're not getting paid.
They
You
were not
understand?
getting paid.
Exactly. So you know that's like when we went when I first got there in my ninth grade year basketball season loaded. You already knew they already had the varsity preset. It was niched in stone. You understand what I'm saying? But the JV man. About 40 moves and everybody can play. So I'm like, man, me and my man, like, oh, let's go to the YA. Couple of us, man, we went to the YA. We had 10-man squad. We went undefeated that year through the whole YA system.
Right,
That's when we went to Berlin to the wall. The wall wasn't down yet. Like when
okay.
I think when you was there, the wall was down.
The wall was down when we got there.
Right.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah.
was there, the wall wasn't down yet. I was there while the wall wasn't down, and I was there when they tore it down. But we went to Berlin, man. They came on there with them M16s, man. I was shook. I was shook. I ain't know what was going to happen. Especially when you waking up after that long bus ride, you all waking up and you see them
Right.
all standing there and they talking in German. That's why I had to learn me a little bit of German while I was over that joint. Cause you ain't gonna keep talking around me and I not understand what you talking about.
Right. Hey, look, I didn't do too well in German class, but my German girlfriends, they put me down on game.
See that's what it is. That's what
Yes,
it is.
sir.
I'm on the job training type dudes myself because
Job training.
I couldn't get it in the class, but I definitely would get it in the street. You
I'm trying to
understand?
tell you, man. Hey, and that's where it was at for us. It was a lot of different things going on, man. And for me personally, school was cool, but I was in another country. There were so many things to catch my attention. So, man, look, we would leave school, man. Especially on skip day. Let's just be real. We brats, man. So we was kind of out there. Yeah, man. We would go down on what they call
Yeah, so y'all had a day called skip day.
yeah, whenever we felt like it.
Yeah, cause I ain't gonna lie. I'm gonna say we wasn't listen on my mother, yo. I used to be standing there before the bell Gary started to go ring for first period. We stand on that wall. I look at my man, be like, yo, you feel like going to school today? He be like, nah. I be like, me neither. And we'll walk right out that joint. The bell be ringing for us to go to class. We walk right past the principal and all that. Roll up out of that joint.
Right.
Yeah, we gone.
Right. Hey, you know what? And we had an open campus, man. So, we could leave anytime we wanted to, bro. Hey, it was different, man. Look, we could smoke, man. We had a smoking section at school, man. So we used to go out and smoke.
Oh, word?
Word, bro. K-Town, Germany. We had a straight up smoking section at school, bro. You go out by the
I
bridge.
mean, people was chiefing, but wasn't no smoking section. People was chiefing, but wasn't no smoking.
That's why they said K-Town is where it was at, man. We did our own thing, man. Yeah. Hey, and our smoking section. Hey,
Yeah,
look,
I
and
see.
let's be real. Germany, we talking about
I see.
Germany. That means Amsterdam is right next door, okay?
So
So,
you tell me. You ain't gotta tell
right.
me. That's
So
part of the reason why I got up out of it. I had to get up out of there.
I'm trying to tell you. So for a lot of us, so like for me, I'm a kidney donor, okay? And so I don't drink alcohol at all. It's a rarity if I have a drink, but cannabis is legal now, and I like it for many reasons. And for me, cannabis, Germany was the first place that I ever experienced that because Amsterdam was right next door, And let's put another thing into its perspective. The culture is so different over there. Bro, first of all, the legal drinking age over there was 18.
Back when I was going, they was like 14, 15, something like that.
On the
They was
economy, if
they
you can
was
sit on the
gross.
bar stool and order it, you can get it.
Nah, yeah, on the economy, they was like 14, 15,
Yeah,
16
man.
drinking, man. They
Yeah, yeah,
was young as hell.
right. So
Yeah,
it's a
man, them
different,
Germans be drinking. They be over there,
yeah,
yeah,
having
they
a
be
good,
getting
hey,
it in, man.
it's common for them to have a beer on their lunch break, So it's a
Right.
totally different society, So when we talk about this, the 90s, so when we talk about cannabis in Germany and the 90s, it wasn't the same taboo that you would experience talking about cannabis in the 90s in America. Because we had
Right.
Amsterdam right next door, which was an open society, and so was Germany. Wasn't nobody
Mm.
making no bones about nobody having some cannabis in Germany. Nah.
Yeah, but mostly in Germany, they only had the hash. That's why you had to go to Amsterdam to get the cannabis.
Yeah,
You
that's why
understand?
you had to come. That's why you had to come to cannabis.
Nah, I go to Amsterdam. I was going to
Yeah,
Stam
yeah,
Amsterdam, and you know what I'm saying. I'm bringing it all back. But anyway, that's a
yeah.
allegedly. And so you went in the service in 1997.
Yeah, I went to Army in '97. When I got back from Germany, okay, so look, Germany, man, Germany was wild for us, man. And I don't want to leave out pieces of the story. So, Germany was wild for us, man. We was wild over there. And like most people, man, I kind of had an early exit, man. We was getting into things. Some would say bad influences, but I would just call it life experiences. And
Right,
so,
growth
yeah,
spurts.
yeah. Yeah, so we were getting into American things. And so yeah, so the thing everything we had
Call
here,
it call it like it is, American things, huh?
yeah, man, we was getting into American things, bro. And so I just put it this way. I'm fortunate I didn't see time in a German jail, man. You gotta pay to stay in their jail. So I'm fortunate I didn't.
Yeah, I did a sprint. I did a spit. Wasn't
Okay.
that long, but I had to get up out of there. They don't
Yeah,
treat you
man.
fair in that joint. But yeah,
Nah, man. And by the time it was over with, man, CID was on me so bad, man. We had to get up out of there, man.
man, I just told you I did a spit, so they was on my line. They was man.
Right. Hey, look, hey,
They
look.
had
And I,
they had me on this list, and the list was long as hell though. But they had me on this list. I was like, oh my god, man.
right. Hey, look.
But I didn't even really, not to cut you off, but I didn't really even understand the magnitude of trouble that I really was in at the time I was getting into that type of trouble. You understand what I'm saying? But it is what it is.
It is what it is, man. So it's a lot to when you're talking about a brat life. It's a lot to get yourself into because think about it, man. A lot of times, man. Hey, our parents are gone, man.
Man, what? My father would be gone 30, 45 days.
You heard
What?
me, right? Right. They
Man,
gone,
what?
man. We at home.
Man, I got things to do. I'm not even going to school today.
Right, hey,
What?
look, I'm gonna tell you, hey, one of the funniest. I don't know where bro is, man, and I hope it's not true. We heard through the grapevine that he got himself in some trouble in Washington and faced a lethal injection. So I don't know if that's true or not. But my boy's name was Trouble, man. I do not remember his real name. It's in the yearbook. But look, man, Trouble had his own spot. The dude was so bad his parents moved him into the basement. You remember the storage units in the
Yeah,
basement?
yeah.
My man lived downstairs, bro. He had his own crib. He didn't even go upstairs to his parents' house, only to shower and to grab a little food or something. But they didn't even, he just lived on his own, man. And That's how
Wow.
it was with the brat life, man. Hey, we
Yeah,
grew up
listen.
fast, bro.
I told you my man on the second episode, Scotty, he had the same kind of hookup called the joint. You understand? Then in Nuremberg, we used to be rocking the temps. We get the temp key. You understand? You remember the temps? Y'all had the temps upstairs?
Yeah, and going
Yeah,
up
man.
to yeah.
We used to throw parties in the temps. We'd be camped in the temps. You understand what I'm saying? Yo, the temps would just be the spot. You understand? You couldn't have your girl up in the temps because anything might go down in the temps.
Man, look, girls, temps, castles. Man, look, man, my oldest daughter was born in Germany, man. Yeah, so I was one of them high school fathers, okay? Yeah, my oldest daughter was born over there, man. We used to get to a lot of things, man. We had a castle up in Honecken, man. So we used to take a trek up to the mountains, on top of the mountains, man, and go hit the castle, man. Take our boom boxes up there, man, and just hang out and have a good time, man. Honecken Lake, man. Oh, man, it was awesome, man. And then we used to hit the trains, man, and just go Munich and go Nuremberg, Hamburg, and just go hit places, man. And I'm telling you,
Right.
the experience, you were on your own a lot. The experience was something else.
For real, I wish I would have took more advantage of the opportunities than I did, to oppose to taking advantage of the opportunities in the wrong way that I did. You
Right,
understand? Because I spent a lot of time. All my time was mostly on making a move, getting some
right,
money, trying.
right,
You
right,
understand?
right. And I was
Instead
in the mix of it.
enjoying. Even when I was going to Amsterdam, I wasn't enjoying Amsterdam. It was in
Right.
out, in
In
out.
and out, in and out. Yeah,
Yeah,
man.
you
Hey,
understand what
look,
I'm
I
saying?
had a good time. I'm gonna tell you one thing that got me around is I played football. So you know how that go. You play sports over there. You play the whole country, even several countries, because we went to
Right.
Belgium and stuff playing ball. But look,
Yes.
another thing that got me around was JROTC. So I joined JROTC, man, and man, look, we went friends, and these are some famous places from World War II. We went
Right.
to Sandoval, France. We went to the Maginot Line, and that was awesome, man. But when we went to Sandoval, France, it was so cool because that was to commemorate the liberation of that town. And so they did a reenactment, man. So we marched through the town. We went to the tomb of the unknown soldiers. And when we marched through the towns, the townspeople, they were hanging out the windows, waving their
Right.
flags and stuff.
Right.
Right, just like they done when the soldiers came through. Man, and look, let me tell you something. Let's talk about something that you have to be there to truly understand in Germany. That's the Black experience. We are everywhere, and
Yeah,
we
no doubt.
have been everywhere. So look,
No doubt.
interesting thing, man. I love history, okay? And so just to flip it a minute, I love history. I found out so many things about history, World War II, all of that while I was over there. And I found out about the Black German presence, okay? And that's what a lot of people don't realize. It's a lot of Black people in Europe, but they're not Black like we would call them. They're German, they're French, they're
Right.
Belgian.
Right.
We're the only ones with these crayon colors.
I ain't gonna lie. We used to call them war babies. You understand what I'm saying? But they definitely over there. They definitely
Hmm.
everywhere. You
Hmm.
understand? They definitely everywhere. And they
Everywhere, man.
like I had this one that worked when I first got there. I was working at the commissary. You understand? And I'm bagging groceries. We getting good money though. You understand? For somebody in high school. But it
Yeah.
wasn't enough for me.
Nah.
So, I ventured out. But I used to always go to work and sign my name on this list because the old white man, he was kind of senile. So I stand in his face. You understand what I'm saying? Let him see me.
Yeah.
But I dip out, pay somebody to do my cleanup. But the war baby Danny, he seen me one day like, yo, what you going, yeah? Well, we'll stay here with me. I'm gonna show you how to get some money. Man, that man took after work. We went up there to the shop at. He went and stole 2 packs, cartons of cigarette. I stole 2 cartons of cigarette.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not to mention, yes, the value of cigarettes, American cigarettes, Marlboro Reds. Oh,
right,
man.
man, yeah. Stop.
Right.
But allegedly,
Allegedly. Here's
so,
another thing people aren't used to. Bro, rations. Remember, we were rationed over there, bro.
Yeah, but see, that's another thing. Like that was the purpose because we ain't got no ration cards as no dependents. You understand what I'm saying? We ain't got no, so you can't get no cigarettes unless you get somebody that don't
And that's
smoke that's in the
right,
military to buy you
right,
some with their
right.
ration. You understand what I'm saying? So you couldn't even just like walk up and buy a pack of cigarettes because the Germans ain't got the cigarettes that we got. You
No. Oh,
understand?
I'm glad you mentioned that. And look, here's another thing, man. The world, you're right. When you live abroad, the influence, what Kendrick Lamar said, you can't fake influence. Look,
Right.
man, America is simply referred to as the world. So what people
The world.
the world. What people don't understand is all of this culture, man, whatever they think they have going on, this is America's influence. So much so when you're outside of America, America is referred to as the world. That's
As
big,
the
bro.
world,
As
as the
the
world,
world.
because
Right.
everybody's watching America to see what the next move is.
Right.
Kind of like people watch superstars to see what the fashion gonna be for.
Yep.
You
Yep.
understand? But even though
Yep.
I'm a trendsetter, I don't go with you know what I'm saying. I don't go with the norm, but that's what the culture does. So
Right.
when we was over in Germany, when we doing music, when we moving around that joint, they watching our flavors. They watching us wear the shell toes. They watching us wear the suede
Right.
Pumas. They watching us wear the Adidas sweatsuits, and you know what I'm saying.
Right.
They hung on our every move. So that's how that hip hop culture even became cultural over there.
Man. Man, look, and speaking of hip hop, hey, me and my man, Eric Burden, man, rest in peace, bro. Bro, dead and gone. Hey, this was my guy. Remember I told you I'm a kidney donor. This is my
Right.
guy. I met my bro, Eric. So look, most of my friends that I have now, they're brats, because I didn't go to school in the United States really. So I don't have those type of connections. So most of the people that I'm connected to are brats. And so my man, Eric Burden, man, I met him in Germany. And so I'll never forget, man. We were walking down the street, bro, and he was drinking soda. I was drinking water. And I told him, I'm like, hey, bro, you need to drink some water sometime. And if you ever need a kidney, I'll give you one. And would you believe, bro, years later, he came to need a kidney and I gave him one. But I said all that to
Wow.
say, we had a rap group,
Praise
man.
God. Praise God.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
Yo, thank you, bro. That's good, bro. Good
Yes,
of you,
sir.
bro.
Hey, well, look, me and my man Eric, man, we had this rap group, man, deeper than Atlantis, bro. I'm from St. Louis, he from Memphis. Man, the sound was with it, man. So when you talk about the culture, the American culture, man, we was in the clubs, man. We was spitting. We was at the recording studios. I told we was doing Little America is what K-Town is called, man.
Yeah, but that was what Europe was doing. Like I told you, we had record deals over that joint.
You
Took
told
free
me that.
profit over that joint. So yeah,
Yeah. Hey, that's where I
So
met I met Cypress Hill there, man, before they became big time Cypress Hill, man.
and
I had a chance to smoke down with them in the booth, bro.
yeah, and see that's what I'm saying. That those type of experiences, you understand? People don't even know. People don't even know how impactful we were as brats to the culture.
Right.
You understand of hip hop.
Right.
But let's talk about Can't Get Right Dog Trainer.
All right, all right. Man, cause I was just gonna get into the music, man.
What possessed you to call it Can't Get Right Dog Trainer?
Man. Hey, good question. Okay, so I'm gonna answer it a couple ways. The first thing is I'm a man of the people, man. I'm a man of the culture, okay? I'm like this. So
Okay.
can't get right. That name in itself, if you're from the culture, man, hey,
Like
when somebody can't get right and this
right,
dude can get them right, he's the pro, because
right, right, right,
can't get right. So
right,
look,
right, right. Because
so look,
can't get right at all.
and also, look, people kept calling me, okay? I'm training dogs. I'm training dogs. I really didn't have a name for it, man. But people kept calling me, man. And all they would say, I answer the phone, dog trainer. They'd be like, hey, man, I got this dog, man. He just can't get right, man. And I kept hearing this over and over and over when they called me. And I'm like, you know what? Can't get right canine training. If they can't get
Right,
right, Call can't get right.
Huh? That's
Yeah,
what's up.
man. So interesting story. A little bit about me. You know, we're brats, man. So we're very diverse. We're into a lot of things. So I did the military thing. I did a lot of things, man. So ultimately, fast forward a few years, I found myself at med school. I was attending med school at Logan University in Chesterfield, Missouri, chiropractic school.
Okay.
I really thought that I wanted to be a doctor of chiropractics. And the reason I wanted to be a chiropractor is because I wanted to treat animals. I wanted to treat dogs in particular. So this is how the two intersected. So one day I was in a training session and I had been at Logan. I was in my second year and I was on spring break and I was in a training session. And so I was working with the dogs, man, and my inner man spoke to me. And it said, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You know, being a doctor and all of that, that's cool. And that'll give you namesake and clout. But this is what you're supposed to be doing. And you're still going to be able to help people and animals just like you wanted to. So, bro, I went with it, man. I was like, you know what? It's cool. I went to school. I went back. I told him, hey, I ain't coming back. Because think about it like this, man. I'm 46 now. So I was 44, 41, 43 at the time, bro. When you're talking about medical programs, these programs cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. So
Right.
when I added up, you know, the college debt to what I'm actually going to earn and what I'm going to have to pay back, I really thought, well, I think I want to pursue doing this for myself. So I took on training dogs full time. And the beauty of it is everything that I learned in school, I apply it to my own business. So education is the key to it all, you know. So
Right.
we can't get right canine training. We're a professional dog training service and we're a premium dog training service. And what makes us different is we're a holistic training service, meaning it's about the mind, body, spirit of the dog and the human that's attached to them. So not only do we train dogs, we also train the humans because 90% of our training is designed to reach the humans. The dogs, they know how to dog already. Our bridge work is we teach the humans how to communicate in a way that reach the dogs to get the results they're looking for. And it's a beautiful thing, man. You don't have to do any yelling at dogs, no hitting dogs. We don't use what in the training industry, what's called aversive techniques, meaning negatives. We don't use any prong collars, any e-collars. It's all about dog psychology. And it's all about having skills to handle a dog, you know? And so working with the dogs, that's the thing that really transformed my life and what really got me grounded. Because when you work, you gotta, whoever you are, the dog is gonna tell on you. So if you're an angry, anxious person, you have short patience, the dog is gonna tell on you because the dog really becomes a reflection of their human, you know? So working with animals, it taught me to be grounded. I learned so much about dog psychology and psychology in general. You know, the Freudian and Skinner and all of that. We apply all of those theories to working with dogs. And I use a training technique called positive reinforcement training, meaning you do something good, you get a reward. To break it down in simple terms, if you go to work and they don't pay you, you're not going back. So that's the premise of working with the animals. They do something good, they get a reward.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So what kind of dogs do you train?
Oh, man, if they're on four legs, I train them. Big dogs, small dogs, cane corsos, German shepherds, Yorkshire terriers. I just came back from Atlanta and I trained two Morkies. And that's a hybrid breed of a Yorkshire terrier and a Maltese. This is what they call a Morkie. And these are little lap dogs, okay? But so look.
Yeah, like a Shih Tzu.
Yeah, like a Shih Tzu, okay? And see, the thing with the lap dogs is a lot of these dogs, they're terriers, meaning these dogs are designed to do work. So although they are small dogs, they have a high prey drive. And a lot of times the dogs, their energy needs are not being met. They're just sitting around the house. And so now they're excited, they're anxious, and they're chewing on the leg of the couch, you know? So These are the things that I teach humans how to build a better relationship. Obedience builds confidence and training builds relationships. And that's the platform, that's the foundation that I operate from.
So have you ever had a Pops from Friday moment? You understand?
Oh, so look, I've been bitten. Yeah.
Bite out of crime type moment. You understand?
Yeah, I've been bitten by dogs several times. You know, how I stay grounded with this is there is no such thing as a bad dog. For example, I recently went to New York. I got a call in Connecticut, actually. I recently went to Connecticut. I got a call from a client there. She had 3 Rottweilers, okay? So I asked her, oh, and if we're speaking in our German dialect, she has 3 Rottweilers.
Okay.
So look, so I ask her on the phone, you know, whenever I approach clients, we do what's called a canine and human behavior assessment. And this is determined to determine the needs of the dog, the needs of the human training style, communication style, all of that. So when I spoke to the lady on the phone, I asked her, I said, hey, are your dogs aggressive? She said, oh no, my dogs aren't aggressive. They just bark a little bit. Okay. So, and I'm going to send you that video. Man, when I got to Connecticut, I couldn't even get through the front door, man. The dog was trying to eat me up. So this is the reason I perform the canine and human behavior assessment, because if you ask a client, are your dogs aggressive? The true answer is they're not aggressive with me. You see what I'm saying? Right. Hey, and in true can't get right fashion, those dogs got right, man. They were fighting each other. This woman, she couldn't let anybody in her house because the dogs would go after them. By the time I was done, we was walking them dogs at the pet store, bro.
So what's the most serious injury you had from a
Well, I've had potential injuries. And the reason that I have not had full-blown injuries is because I protect myself. I wear protective gear. I wear ASPCA gloves. They come from my fingers all the way down up to the elbow. So I was bitten by a pit bull right here on my forearm. And it left from my pit, and it kind of shook around.
He locks.
Yeah, he locks and shook around. And when I got him off of him, luckily the gloves did his thing, and the teeth did not penetrate the skin. I just had bruises. The Rottweiler.
You still had bruises through the.
I had bruises.
Wow.
Yes. Oh yeah, hey, because when the dog bites, oh my goodness. A cane corso, for example, has more bite pressure, more bite force than a lion. You see?
Right.
So, and I've been bitten by a cane corso before. You know, so don't, and not to mention, I offer protection training. And so that's where you put on the sleeves and the dogs come and bite the sleeves. And so I'm used to being bit under those circumstances. But when you're just bit during a regular training session, that's a different type of bite. The Rottweiler bit me on my bicep right here. But when I work with those dogs, I wear a big, thick, insulated jacket. So when he bit my jacket, he caught mostly fabric and locked onto that and was shaking on the fabric. So I protect myself, man. What they say in CB4, I might be crazy, but I ain't no fool.
I know that's right. Hey, but I see you done had your few Pops moments. You know, Pops came in there, pants all tore. You know, you know the moment. Hey, so look, so you're also teaching the owners as well. What's your steps with that? What's the...
Oh, absolutely. So that begins to teach the owners. The first thing I go by teaching the owners is when you're dealing with dogs, dogs mirror human emotions. That's the first thing I start with drilling home with the owners. They have to understand that, meaning this: if you're an excitable person, if you're an angry person, if you're a mistrusting person, your dog is going to operate and reflect all of what you're feeling. Why? Here's the science. Dogs, their nose, they have a scent that's 100,000 times greater than humans. Meaning, remember earlier I said you can't lie to a dog? A dog can smell the biological changes in our bodies of our emotions before we actually feel it. So if you're angry, the dog's gonna know you're angry. If you're mistrusting, the dog's going to know you're mistrusting. If you're a bully, the dogs are going to know you're a bully. So dogs mirror human emotions. That's the first step I take when teaching humans.
So, was the three most influential people in, excuse me, who was the three most influential people in your life and how did they impact you?
And that's a good question because there are so many different people that I've been influenced by. But if I want to say who's the biggest influence in my life, I got to go with the Disney answer, my mom. And I'm gonna tell you why. The reason my mom.
Disney answer.
Hi, mom. That's why the football players always say, hi, mom. Yeah, hey, look. And I'm going to tell you why. Remember earlier, I told you I'm from East St. Louis, Washington Park to be exact. That's the hood, okay? My mother had me at 14 years old, man. She was a baby herself, okay? I'm in East St. Louis, born to a 14-year-old mom. And get this, her mom, my grandmother, rest her soul, let's just keep it real. Granny was a Rolling Stone to the day she left, man. Granny was on her Rick James. She done it all, you know? And
Right.
so my grandmother smoked crack, drank alcohol. She was an alcoholic. Growing up in Washington Park. If you ever seen the movie Lackawanna Blues, that's what it was like before we left. My grandmother ran a juke joint downstairs, so it was parties all night. The Gap band, oh man, I used to wake up to the rooster early in the morning. Oh man, my granny kept that on repeat. So growing up, man, in the hood, I have to say that one of the most influential people is my mom, because through it all, man, my mom kept me safe. You know, being born to a teenage mother in the hood, to a mom's whose mom has a drug and alcohol crisis, I shouldn't be sitting here having this conversation with you. You know,
No,
people,
that impact makes you stronger.
that impact makes me stronger. Yeah. And you know, and one thing I gotta say, you know, when it comes to my teenage mother, I didn't know I had a teenage mom until later on in life. My mom always had an older spirit because how she grew up. And just to tell part of her story, my grandmother, she was out there. She was on drugs and alcohol, meaning my mom experienced a lot of abuse, you know? And so she found a way to work through that, to become grounded. She went to school. She got married at 23. She had a family, you know, and she raised some successful children, you know. With that being said, her and my step pops, Rodney Johnson, R.I.P., he's gone now. But her and my pops, and they done a good, yeah, man, they done a good job, man. And hey, he's the whole reason we got to Germany, but that's a whole nother story. But you know, yeah, so my mom, man, she made it through it all, and my mom always kept it real with me, man. This is how I knew about the streets. I was able to stay safe. You know, my mom, she told me her stories, man, and one of her scariest stories, I ain't gonna say her name. One of her scariest stories is when I was a kid, man. She said she know what it was like to take some keys through the airport, you know? And she realized after doing that, she had a young son at home. She couldn't take chances like that, you know? So when I said earlier that brats, we come from a lot of different backgrounds. And if you're black and in the military, you mostly coming from the hood. So my mom, she kept me safe. No matter how hard I tried to represent East St. Louis and to live the East St. Louis lifestyle, when the CID was on my neck, I had my mother right there fighting for me, man. So, hey, thank you, Mom, for keeping me safe.
No, that's how my father was.
Yeah, man.
So let me ask you this last question. What does it mean for you to be a brat?
Man, what does it mean? Great question. What does it mean to be a brat? An enriching experience like no other. That's the way that I would put it. The experiences that we had as a brat. Look, man, I'll just tell you, I had to stop telling my stories when I came back to America because check it out. Not to sound too bratish, you know, but the average person don't know what it's like to be 17 hanging out in Paris, bro. And I mean catching the train to Paris without your folks, catching the train to Paris to go hang out with your French friends. You see what I'm saying?
And a lot of them be thinking you be welling about
Man, that's why we stopped telling the stories.
right. You understand? Keep it to yourself. You be bottled up because when you get to telling your stuff, it don't even seem like it's real. Right. It be saying it to the average individual that you come back here and start talking to and be like, look, man, I was doing this, that, and the third. They be like, make this guy out of here. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's like they thinking this is a movie or something.
Right,
You
hey, look,
understand?
here's the movie moment. It's so wild. It's so wild. Let me do this. Just in case he sees this. Casey Haley from Jodeci, KC JoJo, Devontae, Dav, and all them. Man, I'm sorry about that fight we almost had over that gal, man. I was young. We ain't had no business beefing over my gal. But first of all, KC, it was my gal, first of all. So you shouldn't have been out there anyway. Second of all, I ain't never been no kind of chump, KC, but I'm sorry about the fight that we almost had at your concert, but I still enjoyed the concert, and the after party was off the chain, too. That's how we was living life.
Hey, no doubt. Hey, you had a moment there. you you went into a little moment there. That was good. Hey, so on this show, we know there's a lot of brats that has passed. That
Man,
something that you might miss. I know it's something that I miss, and something that the audience might miss. You know what I'm saying? So we take this time to show our appreciation by giving a moment of silence to those that passed before us. Salute. And I want to thank today's guest, Courtney Musgraves. Tell the viewers where they
also,
can get your
also
social
known
media.
as, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, what you saying?
Also known as Daddy Pacquiao, the K9.
Daddy Pacquiao, the K9 King. Hey, you understand? And if you need your dog trained, call Can't Get Right K9 Service. You
Can't
understand?
Get Right K9 Training. Call Can't Get Right K9 Training at 314-899. We're located in St. Louis, Missouri, but I'm a traveling trainer. I travel the country training dogs. And if you need a dog trained, no matter where you are, hit me up. We have online services and in-person services. It's the best experience that you can get for you and your dog.
Wonderful. So can you give them your social medias?
Yeah, man. Hey, I'm on Facebook, Can't Get Right K9 Training. Facebook, Courtney Musgraves, Daddy Pacquiao. I'm on TikTok, Can't Get Right K9 Training. And I'm on YouTube, Can't Get Right K9 Training. And Instagram, everything is Can't Get Right K9 Training.
But once again, bro, I want to thank you for being on our show. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
And I just want to say one thing, if you will, before you go.
Yes, sir.
I just want to talk about, let's be real, man. We survived a lot, So I want to talk about briefly the state of our youth, okay? The state of our youth is really in shambles. I mean, really in shambles, okay?
Yeah.
For me personally, science is showing when young people work with animals, it builds a greater sense of discipline, responsibility, empathy, thinking, and communication skills. A lot of what our young people are up against is an emotional dysregulation that they cannot control. Through working with animals, by the nature of working with a dog, you have to control your emotions because why? Dogs mirror human emotions. I said that to say this. In our community, we have not been privileged to experience professional dog training. And this has been due through a history of segregation because there was a time dogs were just used to torture us through slavery and through Jim Crow. And then there's the financial segregation. Dog training is an expensive industry and it is always cost. So for me personally, what I've done to bridge this gap at Can't Get Right Canine Training, my training programs are offered at 30% less of the market value. And the reason I do this is so I can have an opportunity to reach the communities that traditionally cannot afford professional training. So
That's what's up.
I'm here for the people. I would encourage young people, if you parents, if you have an animal, Get your child involved with teaching the animal, being responsible for your dog, training your dog. Why? Because it gives them something to do. It keeps them grounded. It teaches empathy and how to think. And those that work with animals are less likely to find themselves in the criminal justice system.
Well, maybe we get together off camera and set up a little program where we could go teach and train some children in the summer times, like a dog training camp.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
Sponsored by Brat Life
and Can't Get Right Canine Training.
You understand?
Also, I'm working on a dog parade.
And incorporate a couple other dog trainers from the Brat Life and you know, teach the youth.
Yes, absolutely. Hey, we can do that. And also, one last takeaway: when working with dogs, it's never about force. You should never have to yell at a dog. You should never have to hit a dog. You should never have to use intimidating tactics. All of those tactics, it just says that the handler has a lack of training skills. So at Can't Get Right Canine Training, we don't do any of those things. We teach you and your dog and how to build a happy, harmonious relationship.
Wonderful, wonderful. So, once again, I want to thank you for coming out, bro. Wonderful interview. Gonna be looking forward to that stuff so we can put it on Brat TV. Tune in again. Same Brat channel, same Brat time. Till then, peace.
Peace.